Let's dive into a book that really shifted how a lot of people think about money. We're talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, it's a classic, really.
Hmm.
And it's all built around this contrast the author experienced growing up.
Two dads, right?
Exactly. His biological father, highly educated, government job, the poor dad, successful career-wise, but always kind of struggling with money.
Okay.
And then there was his best friend's dad, the rich dad. Less formal schooling, but um, very successful financially.
And the book just unpacks their completely different ways of looking at money, work, life itself, really.
It's the mindset, isn't it?
Mhm.
That's the core. It's
We-
not just about what you earn, it's how you think about earning, spending, investing. All of it.
Right. So what we want to do in this deep dive is, pull out the main ideas, the key lessons from the book.
Make them clear, simple.
Yeah, simple enough so anyone can grasp them, even if you're totally new to thinking about finance. Like building a foundation, you need a solid base.
Yeah. You absolutely do. Can't build anything lasting on shaky ground. So where do we start? The mindsets, I guess.
Yeah, the mindsets. That's where it all kicks off.
Well, the poor dad perspective, it was very much about security. You know the drill. Go school, get good grades, find a safe, secure job.
Play it safe.
Totally. Rely on your employer, maybe a pension. That was the path.
And Rich Dad, different story.
Completely different. He was all about learning to manage risk, not run away from it. Self-reliance was huge for him.
Okay.
And understanding the rules of the money game. So you could make money work for you instead of the other way around.
It's kind of like that Robert Frost poem idea, right? Taking the road less traveled when it comes to money advice.
It is. And the author talks about how tough that choice was, going against his own dad's advice, someone he respected.
Yeah, that decision point is key.
It shows it's often about belief systems, not just like opportunity. And that really sets up the first major lesson in the book.
Which is that classic distinction, working for money versus having money work for you.
Yes. And he illustrates it with that story, him and his friend Mike working for Rich Dad.
Oh, yeah, the 10 cents an hour job.
Right. Dusting cans in a store for next to nothing. They felt totally ripped off working so hard for pennies.
3 weeks, 3 hours a week. What was
Well.
it, 30 cents total? They were mad.
They were furious. Felt like they hadn't learned a thing. But Rich Dad was like, no, that's the lesson.
Ah, okay.
That feeling working hard, getting paid little, feeling trapped,
Yeah.
that's what most adults experience. He called it the rat race.
The rat race, that cycle, right? Work, earn, pay bills, repeat.
Exactly. And often when people earn more, they just spend more. Bigger house, nicer car.
I like style creep.
Yeah, lifestyle inflation, more debt. So they're trapped, driven by fear, fear of not having enough and desire for more things.
And just earning a bigger paycheck doesn't actually fix it, does it?
Not if you don't understand money. More money often just means bigger bills, more debt. The hamster wheel just spins faster.
So how did Rich Dad break that pattern for them?
Well, eventually he had them work for him for free.
For nothing. Wow.
Yeah, it was about confronting those emotions head on. The fear of not getting paid, the desire, the greed for money.
Okay, I see.
Working for nothing kind of forces you to stop thinking about the paycheck and start thinking differently about how to actually make money, not just earn it.
And that led to the comic book library thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
They saw an opportunity, got old comics for free, hired Mike's sister to run it.
And suddenly they had money coming in without actually working for a wage themselves.
Good bingo. Even as kids, they created a little system where money was working for them. A small taste of breaking out of the earn and spend cycle.
Which leads us straight into maybe the most famous idea from the book.
Assets versus liabilities.
Yes. And this is where he really challenges conventional thinking.
He basically says, forget the dictionary definitions, they just confuse things.
Okay.
His rule was incredibly simple, almost too simple maybe.
Yeah.
An asset puts money in your pocket.
Puts money IN.
Got it. And a liability takes money out of your pocket.
Takes money OUT. Okay. So let's use the big example. Your house.
Ah, the house. Yeah. Most people think my house is my biggest asset.
That's what you always hear.
But this is where the two dads really clashed. Poor dad. House was his main investment. Rich dad saw his own house, the one he lived in with a mortgage, as a liability.
Okay, walk me through that with the cash flow idea from the book, the diagrams.
Right. So imagine poor dad's finances.
Hmm.
Money comes in from his job.
Right.
Income.
Yep.
But then money flows straight out again. Mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, home repairs, utilities,
All taking money away.
constantly draining cash out of his pocket. So By Rich Dad's definition, it's a liability.
Hmm.
Rich Dad's observation was pretty blunt. The rich acquire assets, the poor have expenses, and the middle class, they buy liabilities they think are assets.
Like the house with the big mortgage, the fancy car on payments.
Exactly. Things that look good, but month after month, they just suck cash out.
So it's not the thing itself, it's the direction the cash is flowing because of it.
That's the absolute key. Cash flow tells the story. It's like the language of money.
Not just how much you make.
No, it's about your balance sheet, too. What you own, what you owe. But critically, it's about where the money goes after you get paid. That's financial intelligence, really. What you do with the money.
Which connects perfectly to lesson 3, mind your own business.
Yeah, and he uses that great Ray Kroc story, the McDonald's guy.
Right, people thought he was in the hamburger business.
But Kroc corrected them. He said, no, my business is real estate.
Because the long-term wealth wasn't just flipping burgers, it was owning the valuable land underneath the restaurants.
Exactly. That was the real lasting asset. And the book argues most people spend their whole lives minding other people's businesses.
Your boss's business.
Yep, making the company rich, the government's business, paying taxes, the bank's business, paying off mortgages and loans.
But not their own business.
Right. And minding your own business here doesn't mean quitting your job to start a company necessarily. It means actively, deliberately building up your asset column.
That column of things that put money in your pocket.
Think about it like this. Every dollar you push into that asset column, it's like hiring a tiny employee.
An employee?
Yeah. Works 24/7, never sleeps, never complains. Its only job is to make more money for you.
Okay, I like that visual.
So the trap most people fall into is just focusing on their income, chasing that raise, that promotion.
Which isn't bad in itself.
Not at all. But the book says if that extra money just leads to more spending instead of buying more assets, you're still stuck. Still minding everyone else's business, just with maybe a bit more money flowing through your hands.
And this relates to buying luxuries too, right?
Absolutely. The rich, according to the book, buy luxuries last. They use the income thrown off by their assets.
Makes sense?
Whereas the poor and middle class often buy luxuries first. They use their paycheck, or worse, debt. They might look rich, but their financial foundation is weak.
So a real luxury is like a reward generated by your assets.
That's the idea, earned by your employees in the asset column.
Okay, moving on. Lesson 4. The power of corporations. This can sound intimidating.
It can, yeah. The book simplifies it quite a bit. It touches on tax history, how income taxes started, supposedly, to tax the wealthy.
The whole Robin Hood idea.
Right. But over time, governments needed more revenue, and taxes ended up hitting the middle class pretty hard, often because they had fewer sophisticated ways to deal with them.
Whereas the rich use financial intelligence to play the game differently.
Exactly. Using legal structures, primarily corporations. A corporation is basically a separate legal person.
And that gives advantages.
2 main ones highlighted. First, taxes. A corporation can often pay its legitimate business expenses first and then pay taxes on what's left, the profit.
Unlike an employee who gets paid, taxed immediately, and then pays expenses from the remainder.
Precisely. So there's potentially more money left to reinvest or use before the tax man takes a bite.
Okay, that's a big difference.
The other advantage is legal protection. Wealthy people often structure things, so corporations own the assets, not them personally.
So if they get sued?
Their personal assets might be protected because legally, they don't own the business assets directly. They control them, but don't own them on paper. It creates a shield. It's about using the legal system strategically.
Got it. All right, lesson 5. This one's really interesting. The rich invent money.
Yeah, this is where it goes beyond just earning or saving. It's the idea that with enough financial intelligence, you can actually create money, create value through deals and understanding opportunities.
How does that work? Like the real estate example from Phoenix.
That's a perfect illustration. He found a house in a down market for, say, $20,000. Knew it was worth maybe $75,000.
Okay.
He put down very little, maybe used a short-term loan from a friend, found a buyer quickly, and sold it for $60,000.
So a quick flip?
Sort of, but the key was how the profit was realized. Often it wasn't immediate cash. The buyer might give him a promissory note, basically an IOU, a promise to pay over time.
Ah, so the note itself becomes an asset.
Exactly. That piece of paper, representing future income, went straight into his asset column. He essentially invented $40,000 of value and future cash flow through smart deal-making, using very little of his own capital up front.
That's clever. What about the other example, the foreclosure condo?
Simpler, Maybe more relatable. Buy foreclosure cheap, say $50. Rent it out.
Okay.
If the rent covers the mortgage payment, the taxes, insurance, maintenance, and leaves you with some positive cash flow each month.
Then the asset is paying for itself and putting money in your pocket.
Right. And the money you initially put in your down payment starts coming back to you through that cash flow. Eventually, you might get all your initial investment back, but you still own the asset and it's still paying you.
So your return on the money you originally invested becomes infinite, kind of.
That's the idea. You've essentially created an income stream seemingly out of the structure of the deal. That's inventing money through smart acquisition and management.
So financial intelligence isn't just book smarts, it's seeing angles, solving problems.
Turning lemons into lemonade, or even millions, as the saying goes. It's about having more options because you understand how things work.
And the book breaks down this financial intelligence into 4 technical skills.
Yeah, 4 key areas.
Yeah.
First is financial literacy. Basically, can you read the numbers, understand an income statement, a balance sheet, know what they're telling you?
Crucial baseline.
Yeah, absolutely. Second is investing. The science, or maybe art, of money making more money. Understanding strategies, vehicles.
Talked, bonds, real estate, businesses.
Right. Third, understanding markets. Supply and demand. What makes prices go up or down? Economic trends.
You need to know the playing field.
And fourth, the law. Knowing the rules of the game. Tax advantages, corporate structures, legal protections. It's the synergy of all 4 that creates real financial power.
But, and this is a big but in the book, just knowing the stuff isn't enough, is it?
Not even close. There's a whole section of the internal roadblocks, the things inside us that stop us from actually doing anything with the knowledge.
Just psychological barriers.
Exactly. He highlights 5 main ones. First up, fear. Specifically, the fear of losing money.
That's a big one for most people.
Huge. The pain of loss often feels way stronger than the potential pleasure of gain. So people freeze, they don't act. The book uses the Alamo story.
Remember the Alamo?
Yeah. Those guys fought knowing they'd probably lose. They were defeated, but that loss became this massive inspiration, a rallying cry.
Okay.
The point is, for winners, losing isn't the end. It's fuel. It makes them smarter, more determined. For losers, or those paralyzed by fear, losing just defeats them, stops them cold.
So you have to be willing to risk loss or at least manage the fear of it?
You have to learn from it, not be crushed by it.
Yeah.
Okay, second obstacle, cynicism.
Being negative about everything.
It's more than just analysis. It's doubt fueled by fear. Cynics always find reasons why something won't work. The classic example is real estate investing.
Oh, I don't want to deal with tenants or...
I don't want to fix toilets. That's the one for the book?
Right.
And Rich Dad's response was brilliant. What makes you think I want to fix toilets?
Huh. Good point.
The cynic gets stuck on the minor negative, the toilet, and misses the huge positive, passive income, building wealth. Rich Dad didn't want to fix toilets either, so he figured out how to hire a property manager.
So the I don't want actually pointed to the solution, finding someone else to do it.
Exactly. Your objections, your I don't wants, can actually unlock solutions if you approach them creatively, instead of just shutting down.
Okay, number 3, laziness. This one's interesting because he says being super busy can be a form of laziness.
Yeah, it's like using busyness as an excuse, staying constantly occupied with work, chores, whatever.
So you don't have to confront the scary stuff like your financial reality.
Or ask yourself if what you're doing is actually getting you where you want to go. It's easier to just keep running on the hamster wheel.
And language plays a role here too, saying, I can't afford it.
That phrase just shuts down your brain. Game over. Rich Dad pushed back hard on that. He insisted on asking, how can I afford it?
Which forces you to think.
It opens possibilities.
Yes.
It engages your mind, makes you look for solutions instead of just accepting defeat. He even used his kids wanting things as motivation, not, we can't afford it, but, okay, how can we afford it? Made them think too.
Smart. Obstacle 4, bad habits. The big one here is paying yourself first. Or rather, not paying yourself first.
This is fundamental.
Yeah.
It means putting money aside for your asset column before you pay your bills.
That sounds stressful. Bills are due.
It does, but the book argues that the pressure is actually good for you. If you've paid yourself first and the bills are looming,
You're forced to find the money somehow.
exactly, it forces your financial genius to wake up, find extra income, cut costs, make a deal. It builds financial muscle. The alternative is dipping into savings or using credit cards, which just reinforces dependency.
Builds resilience under pressure. Okay, and the last one, number 5.
Arrogance, which the book basically defines as ignorance plus ego. Arrogance is often just a mask for not knowing something. Someone who's truly smart is usually open to learning, especially in areas where they're weak.
But an arrogant person.
Might argue, dismiss ideas, or pretend they know more than they do, just to avoid looking ignorant. Especially if a new idea challenges their current, maybe flawed, way of thinking.
So the advice is, if you don't know, admit it and learn. Don't let pride block you.
Find an expert, read a book, educate yourself, don't bluff.
So overcoming these 5, fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, arrogance, is just as vital as learning the technical stuff.
Absolutely. You need both the knowledge and the mindset to apply it.
Which brings us to the practical steps. How do you actually get started? What actions does the book recommend?
Okay, practical stuff. First, you need a strong why,
Yeah.
a deep reason. What do you really want? What do you really not want?
Like, I don't want to struggle like my parents did, or I want the freedom to travel.
Exactly. Those deep emotional drivers need to be stronger than the obstacles, stronger than the fear.
Okay, have a purpose. What's next?
Make conscious choices every single day. What do you do with your time, your money, and maybe most importantly, what do you put into your brain? Choose to learn. Invest in your financial education constantly.
Daily habits. Got it.
Third, choose your friends wisely. Hang around people who are playing the game you want to play, people who are learning and growing financially.
Avoid the negative Nellies.
Yeah, the Chicken Little is always saying the sky is falling. Your environment shapes your thinking.
Makes sense. Fourth.
Master one formula first. Don't try to do everything at once. Pick an area, real estate, stocks, starting a business, and really learn it. Become confident there, then maybe branch out. Learning fast is key.
Focus. Okay. Fifth.
We mentioned it, but it bears repeating. Pay yourself first, every month. No excuses, make it automatic.
Habit formation. Sixth.
Pay your advisors well. Good accountants, attorneys, brokers, they're worth it. They help you organize, strategize, navigate the complexities, find people who are investors themselves, ideally.
Get good help. Seventh.
Be an Indian giver. Now, that term is outdated and insensitive, but the book's concept was about getting your initial investment back quickly while keeping the asset.
Like the condo example again. Get your down payment back via cash flow, but still own the property.
Exactly. Look for deals where you get something for free, where the structure lets you recoup capital fast, or where there's built-in upside.
Okay. Eighth.
Assets buy luxuries. Build the asset column first. Let the income from those assets pay for the nice things. Don't buy them with your paycheck or debt.
Discipline. Ninth.
Choose heroes. Find investors or entrepreneurs you admire, study them, read about them, learn from their successes and failures, model their thinking.
Learn from the best. And 10th.
Teach others. When you share what you're learning, it solidifies it in your own mind. Plus, the act of giving value, sharing knowledge, tends to attract more opportunities back to you. Teach, and you receive.
That's a great list of actions. Very concrete.
It's all about shifting habits and perspective, really, not just finding one trick.
So if we boil it all down, what's the absolute core message from our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
I think it's that financial freedom isn't really about how hard you work at your job. It's not even primarily about how much you earn.
It's about education.
Financial education, yes. And changing your mindset, thinking like an owner, an investor, focusing relentlessly on acquiring income-producing assets.
Assets, not liabilities.
And mastering your own psychology, getting over those internal hurdles, the fear, the cynicism, all of that.
The book really pushes that idea that money is just an idea. Building wealth starts in your head.
It does. It starts with changing how you think and then consistently investing in your knowledge and investing in your asset column, even small amounts, consistently.
You don't need to be rich to start.
Absolutely not. Start small, learn continuously, practice the principles. It's not rocket science, mostly. It's simple math, common sense, but combined with that different mindset and skill set.
It reminds me of that bucket versus pipeline story. Are you just hauling buckets of water your paycheck every day?
Or are you taking the time and effort to build a pipeline, your assets, that will deliver income automatically, whether you're hauling buckets or not?
That's a powerful image.
And maybe a final thought to leave people with, something the book makes you consider. Your financial future, it's really being decided today by the choices you make right now.
With your money, sure, but also.
More importantly, with your mind. What are you choosing to learn? What actions are you taking or not taking? Which path are you actually building for yourself?